Hello, my name is Yamile Franco and today I will be talking about the assessments that were used in the 5 videos I observed. In the 5 videos I observed, it was grade levels 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th. Going straight into the reflection, throughout these 5 videos, they used many different forms of assessments, both formative and summative. Starting with the first video, Geometry Project Rubric Review, they used a formative assessment called Mid-Project Rubric Review. The students basically self-reflect on their own project and how far they've gone and what they think is the hardest and the easiest part. They talk to their group members about it and they rate themselves from a scale of 1 to 10. For example, a student rated himself a 0 because he had to start all over, so he was a little bit more behind. And at the end of the group discussions, there goes at least one person from each group to share with the whole class about how far their project is going and what they expect it to look like at the end when it's due. I really like this assessment because it gives them the ability to see how far others are at, so if they need to pick up the pace, they can do so after. So I would definitely use that in my classroom. And then in the second video, peer reviews using warm and cool feedback. They use a formative assessment to evaluate the process of their papers with their group members. The student first shares their papers and then they get a warm, fuzzy feedback, which is any positive feedback, something that they like about it. But then later on get a cool, which is just advice for them that they could do or change to make the paper seem better. They do this for each group member, and then they call the person who's getting the feedback the fly on the wall, because they're just listening to what others have to say and taking in all the advice, and then at the end they're able to fix it if they want to or not. I would also really use this by having them share their essays or anything before turning it in, just because it's never bad to get feedback. Instead, it could improve their paperwork no matter what. And then in the third video, pinwheel discussion, large group conversations, they use a summative assessments. After they have read 3 different stories, there's 3 different groups for each story, plus another one called the provocator, which is just them coming up with questions to get the conversation going. So one person from each group, after they discuss, go in a little inner circle, and that's when they start having the discussion about the questions and how it relates to the story. And then if I were to use this, I would get more people in the inner circle instead of just 4 students talking and the whole class listening, but I would still use this assessment. And then in the 4th video, making claims about ecosystem, they use a summative assessment as well. Their task was to draw different organizations to show artistic and scientific balance as well, just like how they first observed before they were left alone to do it. And I really like this because it gives them a break from just writing or reading. It lets them draw and then later on explain it with words how they think their little picture is balanced or if it's not. And then in the last video, factor, expand, and combine like terms, they do a formative assessment, which is they pick 4 cards to fill out a mat, which is just to create an equation, and then later they have to simplify it with their group, just like they did before they were working with their group as a whole class. So they do this for 5 different times, and I really like this assessment because it gives them time to collaborate on groups. But I would also like to do it individually just to see how far the process is of each student.